When historical reenactors meet, more than the past comes alive. It's a chance for participants to entertain and educate, while catching up with old friends and learning new ideas, if only for a brief time. Like the pioneers they portray, they depend on each other to make it through this world and any other.
The reenactors are like a family. We are so closely bonded together that even when we're not doing events together, we stay in touch with one another. It's not really a club, it is a family. And we go to each other's weddings, unfortunately, funerals sometimes. But if you are ever in need of anything, you can call on one of your brothers and sisters and they will be there for you.
Part role-playing, part living history. Reenactments take place all over the world as a way to share a love for history, tradition, and community. The Old Florida Festival at the Collier County Museum in Naples has been attracting more and more participants to step back into time and learn firsthand about the good old days. Some are strict about their interpretation. They're known as stitch counters. Others take a more relaxed posture when recounting their own story. While it's a valuable way to remember how rugged life was, our ancestors had some pretty cool tools to play with.
People say, what's a brown bass? What the woman's got to do with what you're doing? Well, this is a brown bass. It's a 75 caliber. It uses 110 grains of powder. The ball is about the size of my finger, and it's a flintlock.
Most reenactors will pick a persona from a specific time frame with in-depth details about their subjects, often real people. Participants can spend years fine-tuning their presentation, making costumes and tools the old-fashioned way.
It was made out of wood. Anyone could make it.
Some are so serious about their roles that their characters take on a life of their own.
Trying to get the Calusas to Christianity is very difficult because, see, they've been living the way they've been living for 10,000 years. And 10,000 years, to give you perspective, is twice as long as the pyramids have been up. We made a very good agreement. The Calusas would live the way they've lived for the past 10,000 years, and I would live, period.
With a robe and cross, Larry Litt becomes Father Juan Rogel, a Jesuit priest who lived among the Calusa in the 16th century. When not in his robes, Litt teaches computer repair at Immokalee Tech Center. His first reenactment was part of his son's Boy Scout troop in 2001, and Litt was so wrapped up in the history of Florida that he became chair of the museum's board of directors, which has hosted the annual event since 1990.
When the people come here, they will see everything from the beginning of the Calusa Indians all the way through the conquistadors, the Seminole Wars, the Civil War, World War I, World War II. They will see flint knappers making flint. They will see all the tools that the Calusas used. They will see dressmaking. They will see what they did during the Revolutionary War. They will find all sorts of crafts going on here.
And when I first got involved, there were some women involved with it. Now a few more are coming in. But it's still, I think, still pretty much a guy thing because the guys like to go and shoot guns. And we do have a few women that go out and shoot guns too. They're certified. I haven't chosen to go that way. I've been more interested in the cultural history.
For 17 years, Elizabeth Neily has been dressing as a settler from 16th century Spain, sharing the stories of 10 real women who joined their conquistador husbands in 1528 on the arduous journey to the New World. The women came along to oversee the expenditure of their dowries, which funded many of these exploits. Their adventures and discoveries still reach out across the centuries to show how people living in the 21st century can be more self-sufficient.
In the modern world, I think we've lost a lot of how to really be in touch with how to live in nature. We've lost a lot about how our basic survival skills. I mean, we can go out and buy it. Here, when we do living history programs, we actually teach people how to do things like knitting. You know, the children used to knit all the socks for the family. They don't do that anymore.
Unfortunately, today's children have become quite disconnected from nature, and they tend to be more involved with computers and video games. But that is part of what we're doing out here, is reintroducing children to nature and helping them to understand that we cannot separate ourselves from nature.
Wynne Tatman of Bradenton often becomes White Turtle Woman of the Calusa tribe, which dominated southern Florida for thousands of years. Growing up in historic St. Augustine fostered an appreciation for history, and she now travels around the southeastern United States educating youngsters about Native American cultures, particularly those in Florida.
The women own the houses, they own the children, they own the food, and they own the clothing. The men, of course, cherished their women. That was the way that they could ensure their existence. So the men hunted and fed and protected the women.
For some reenactors, it's no act. Jeffrey Williams and his family run a not-for-profit organization from historic property on the Manatee River in Sarasota County. Williams is a teacher who for the last 10 years has found himself in the 19th century with a hobby of epic proportions.
We have a sugarcane growing plot there. We have archaeology going on. We have the historical houses and just a whole range of things that we're trying to get together and so that we can preserve this past for the future.
Early settlers to Florida had a rude welcoming in a land filled with bugs, heat, and the country's longest-running feud with Indians. From civil to seminole, wars have shaped local history, and the reenactors enjoy giving people a better idea of the daily struggles that our ancestors endured. Just portraying it can be challenging.
Actually, people I think that come by and see this have absolutely no idea how labor-intensive this is. For instance, I was asked yesterday, how much money do you make on this? I said it's impossible to make any money trying to sell cane syrup.
I think it's just cool. I just think it's fun. And some days I go home and I will say, why do I do this? Because it is really, you're tired, you're really big, and you're hot, and people ask you really stupid questions, like, are you real? I just really enjoy sharing the information with people, to realize how important our history is and how, by teaching people these kinds of things and the mistakes that these people made, maybe we can learn something from that.
This walk through time is a journey through the many struggles and triumphs that have shaped our present society. For some, sharing those moments can be more real than many current experiences.
Kids that turn that cane grinder, when they have kids, they'll say, I remember when I did that. When they put their hand on that or when they grabbed that piece of cane and ran off with it, they'll really remember that because that's something that happened to them in real life.
Reach my cane,